Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 60 of the Rock and Roll Beer Guy Podcast. This episode is brought to you by effing rad art. Go to the website, effing rad art, and pick up your official Rock and Roll Beer Guy t-shirt. You can pick the color of the shirt and the color of the ink, and they'll ship it right to your door. In this episode, I talked to Chris Kelly of the band Galactic Empire. We talk a lot about the band and how it all got started. We geek out about Star Wars. We talk about music. We talk about booze. We talk about comic books. I had a great time talking to him, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Cheers.
Hello?
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, man? How are you?
Doing all right. Watching your newest video, the
Word?
March of the Resistance.
Yes, sir.
Dude, I have so many questions. This is going to be fun.
Awesome.
Welcome, everyone, to the Rock and Roll Beer Guy Podcast. I'm here with Chris Kelly of the band Galactic Empire and Alustrium. Am I saying that right? Alustrium? I don't know how to say it.
Alustrium.
There we go.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
All good.
Yeah, I said this before on the podcast, but yeah, like English is not my first language, so I'm just surprised I can even handle this.
Word. Well, you sound like you're doing great to me.
Oh, thank you, dude. Thank you. Anyway, so yeah, for those that are listening that aren't familiar, I'm going to lower this TV a little bit. For those of you that aren't too familiar, Galactic Empire is a Star Wars themed band, as you would assume, just by the name. And you guys dress up in outfits straight from the movies, man. How are you guys doing that?
As far as the actual movie costumes, we only use those for the music videos. We don't monetize our music videos, and we don't collect any royalties or revenue from them, so we're able to use those under fair use. And, they're also sort of parody videos, so, we make sure we don't ruffle any feathers on that end. As far as live costumes are concerned, we have altered costumes for two reasons. One being the obvious, which is the legal stuff.
Yeah.
We don't want to piss anybody off. We don't want to step on any toes. So we're doing it because we're fans of the franchise, not because we're trying to mooch. So we try to keep everybody happy. And the other is that about keeping ourselves happy, because the movie costumes are all but fucking impossible to play or move or breathe or exist in.
I was going to ask about that too. Like, how do you play guitar with those gloves on? Like, that's nuts.
Right. So, music videos are obviously played to pre-recorded audio and stuff. So it's easy to play with gloves for that. But it's funny how many comments we got, especially when the band first launched. Like, people, I call bullshit. There's no way they're playing in gloves. It's like, well, yeah, it's a music video, But yeah, live the costumes are much more lightweight, much more breathable. There are no gloves, and it's just they're designed to be as comfortable as possible. Yeah, they still present their own set of challenges, and it's still nowhere near as comfortable as playing without a costume. But we make do, and we've gotten pretty used to it by now. So
cool. And like you haven't gotten any calls or any emails like, yo, what's going on with this from like Disney or any of those people?
No, actually, we hit them up like when we first started, because like we didn't intend for this to be a band. Like we put out our first music video just for fun. Like our drummer wrote a part to the Imperial March like years ago and made a drum video for it, and then was like, what if we added guitars to it? And he got some of the other guys involved, myself included, and we did Imperial March and main theme, and we're like, all right, well, we should make a video for this. And eventually we landed on doing it in costume, and then The Force Awakens was coming out, so we were like, let's release it on the day it comes out, because, we can probably get a decent amount of views on this. I think it'll work. And we got the first 1 million hits in 8 hours, and so... and by the end of the week, it was at like 10 or 12. So that video taking off in the way that it did, started, we were getting emails and phone calls and whatever, and it was like, okay, people actually want us to play this stuff. So it was all just kind of flown by the seat of our pants. But when we started getting those phone calls, we were like, well, let's hit up Disney and see, if we're even allowed to use these costumes, because we can't play shows without getting paid. So, right. Especially if we're going on the tour. So we tried every avenue we could think of, everything from just hitting up the boilerplate, contact template on the website, to talking to different people in different agencies who had contacts in certain places and whatever, and didn't even get a single response from anybody. So we were just like, well, better safe than sorry. Let's just not use the accurate costumes. Because Disney's very protective of their intellectual property. Family Guy's not allowed to do any more Star Wars episodes and stuff. So I have a feeling they wouldn't let us do it either. So we just wanted to, like I said, keep everybody happy, not ruffle any feathers.
Right. Yeah, it's funny, man. I mean, I could assume that they probably get a ton of emails of stuff of people like, I want to make a video of me dressed as Vader doing this, and sell it, cooking. I'm going to do a cooking show with Darth Vader or something. You know what I mean? And they just ignore all of it.
Right.
And speaking of Darth Vader, you are Dark Vader in the band, yes?
Yes, that's the official name that I go under.
How did you
the official non-infringing name?
How did you guys decide who gets to be Darth Vader? I mean, I'm sure that's at least for me, that would be, I would fight you for it.
Right. So it actually worked out pretty easily. So the three guys that started the band are our drummer, Grant McFarland, our bassist, Carson Slovak, and myself. So Grant is a huge Boba Fett fan, so he called dibs on Boba right away. Nice. At the time, Carson, he still plays a black and white bass, but the bass that he played in the first music video was a black and white Fender Jazz bass. And so it was like, well, he's got a black and white bass, might as well go black and white, so he's a stormtrooper. And I was the only guitar player at the time when we put the songs together, so it was like, all right, well, if I'm doing the lead stuff, then, Vader is kind of the face of the Empire, so, might as well go with that. I'm also a relatively big fella, so I can't wear form-fitting clothes or anything like that. So all of the different robes and capes on the Vader costume look just right for me. So worked out nicely there.
Nice. And then Mike DeMaria is the red, or what was it? I read in an interview you called him the red idiot or something.
Dude, that goes so far back. So was when we were coming up with the names for the fake names for the characters, and or the non-infringing names, and at the time, Mike wasn't actually the Red Guard. It was this other guy named Josh, who is not an idiot, by the way. But it was just he created a persona in the first couple of videos, especially in the second one. we had him basically sort of being a Punisher to the Emperor at the end of the video. So we always had this idea that Red Guard was going to be this sort of klutzy, he's the guy that sort of embarrasses everybody in the band. So I really was pushing. I wanted it to be Red Idiot. And no one let me do it. So it's just Red Guard. That's what we call him. So he's the official is the Imperial Guard, but we call him Red Guard, or Big Red for short.
Big Red, I like
Big
that.
Yeah.
So I posted on Facebook hey guys, I'm talking to Chris from Galactic Empire. Send me any questions. He commented with, ask him why he is such a little bitch boy.
Of course he did. Yeah, Yeah, it's very rare. It's very rare that you find, like, if anyone says anything good about either of us, the other one is usually there saying something inflammatory. So
that's how
Mike is also
works.
in Alustrium. Mike is also in Alustrium with me. We've been best friends for the better part of a decade at this point, so it's just, it comes with the territory.
So tell me a little bit about Alustrium. I know it's a death metal, a little different, less accessible than the Star Wars stuff. So
yes,
tell me how that all came together.
So that, that's been Mike and my brainchild for also the better part of a decade at this point. I think under the name Alustrium, it's been something like 8 years. Not a huge band by any means. We've done some small tours and some regional stuff, but nothing large scale. All of our stuff is independent. But yeah, that's pretty much the most typical, starting a band story that you've got, just going through different lineups until you find the right people and, just doing your best with what you have. We got a decent response on our last record, which was called A Tunnel to Eden, and that came out 2015. We seem to have this terrible habit of taking too long to put out another record, because that was about 4 years after we put out the first one. So we don't we take our time, which some people get annoyed at us about. But
sure.
that's just still, that's our creative outlet. So it's not something that'll ever go away. It's just, we just kind of put out music when we have it.
Right. That's how you got to do it. I fall victim to this as well. I'm in a band as well, but we've put out 2 albums in the span of 10 years.
Right, so, exactly. It's different when there's no pressure from a label or anything.
Yeah. And we wrote a third one. We just haven't recorded it. We're we got stuff going on, guys.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
We'll figure it out.
And it's funny because the first record was the typical culmination record. Mike and I are the primary writers of the band, and so the first album, like everybody else's first record, is just like, well, I've had these riffs for the last 5 years, and let's all just put them on a record. Whereas the second record was very much a collaborative effort, and it was Mike and I just sitting in, at the time, my parents' basement for, days on end, just writing the stuff. And now it's a fault of mine, especially. I, straight up cannot write anything for Alustrium if Mike's not in the room for some reason. Every time I put something down, I'm like, this sounds horrible, and I delete it immediately. So it's especially once now that we're adults and we're both touring with Empire and have I have a family and we have jobs and whatever. It's definitely not a good crutch to have to lean on, especially when it's harder to get together. So. Sure. But it's still going. If there is anybody that's listening wondering, it is still happening. It's just taking a while.
Gotcha. And so, for anyone that hasn't heard the band, who would you say would be your biggest influence in terms of sound? A lot of bands, when they start off, you kind of start off kind of mimicking or doing a few things from a specific band that you love, and then you kind of evolve from there. You make you shape it into what you want it to be. So what would that band be for you?
That's a good question. Alustrium is as much of a culmination of the sort of technical death metal influences and progressive influences. I was real big into Dream Theater growing up. We're all big fans of early Faceless stuff, especially Planetary Duality. I don't think I know a single metalhead who's not into that record. Lamb of God's another big one. It's hard to pinpoint a single influence, because I think the one thing that I sort of pride ourselves on, I guess, is that we do our best to have our work be as versatile as it can be, and a single song isn't we try not to let it be too derivative of one influence. You know what I mean? But yeah, that would probably the big ones for me, especially, would be Lamb of God, Faceless, Dream Theater. Between the Buried and Me is a big one for all of us.
It's funny
Mike is on the.
It's funny.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's funny that all those bands you're mentioning don't sound the same, like don't sound similar.
Right. Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, I don't, especially in our stuff, I don't think that people would. We've actually been compared to Lamb of God a number of times, but it's usually by people who only sort of passively listen to metal. So it's just like, you growl. But I still take it as a compliment, because they were my favorite band for. I mean, they probably still are my favorite band if you tally it up. But just for years and years and years, I was obsessed with that band. So it's more of something where I think you likely wouldn't think of some of those bands listening to our stuff until we mention them, and then once we mention them and you hear a specific part, you're like, okay, I see it now. So, which I think is good. I feel we're lucky enough that we haven't had anybody be like, "Oh, you're just trying to be this band" yet. So hopefully we don't ever get that.
Yeah. It's a rough thing, man. Like you said, there's a lot of people that just passively listen to metal, or they hear whatever's on the radio, and they just, they'll make these comparisons, and they have no idea how deep it can go. Like the genres, it can break down a lot.
Yep.
It's nuts, man. I don't know. How do you balance having both of those bands right now too? Like I know, like you said, you were writing and you're trying to get together and everything, but I would think that when you get the success you've gotten with Galactic, that that would just consume you. That would be it.
Well, in a way, it has. I mean, we certainly, Alustrium hasn't played a show in a while, like a good while. Better part, at least a year, I think, at this point. Mainly because we've just been focusing our energy on trying to write stuff. But it's tough to. And especially, we're in a position now where all the members are, we've developed lifestyles and we have, careers and things. And, Galactic is lucky enough that, the way the band got its start led pretty quickly to us being able to bring home some money from the road. But Alustrium's not that type of band, so that's why we don't really tour all that much. It's just because, we can only do it in a way that makes financial sense, and that's not always the case. But it's really just, prioritizing when you need to prioritize. When we've got tours coming up for Galactic Empire, Alustrium gets put on the back burner, and when we've got, dead space, that's when, we try to focus our energy back on writing again. Admittedly, I'm a big source of difficulty in terms of getting together to write, because I have a day job. I work part-time 3 days a week, and then the rest of the week I'm running a studio business. So I'm usually working with clients and things like that, and I have a wife and a 1-year-old, and so I'm trying to spend time with them and whatever. So it does get difficult to try to balance stuff. It gets where if you choose a weekend or a day of a weekend to spend with either your family or your other band, and then you feel bad or feel guilty about, you feel like you're neglecting the other one, So it does get difficult to balance, but I think it's just something where, there is a certain amount of luxury in not having any sort of label obligations or anything, so that we can take our time. We can make sure that we're putting out the best product that we can, and then hopefully we can, continue to grow the band as we're able to,
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the studio work, Think Loud Studios, right?
Yes, that's the newest development. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. I saw some pictures. The place looks legit.
It's ridiculous, and I can say that because I had nothing to do with it. So, yes, that's so Grant and Carson run a business called Atrium Audio, and they've recorded the last 4 or 5 August Burns Red albums, and they did a lot of stuff with that band Texas in July. They recorded the last Everclear record. They do a decent amount of big stuff, and they recently just partnered with Think Loud, which is owned by, I don't know if do you remember the band Live, like from the 90s?
Oh, yeah. I'm 36.
Yeah.
I very much remember that band.
Okay. So Chad Taylor, the guitar player, owns Think Loud.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's like his whole thing. So he's known Carson for a number of years, and so they just partnered with him because there's two facilities in the like as far as the recording studio is concerned. They're right across the hall from one another. So Grant and Carson operate out of one of them, then the other one's pretty much empty. So they just hired on me, and then there's two other independent guys that'll be bringing work in and kind of helping the studio out as needed and whatever. So that's we're all very very grateful and very excited to be a part of something like that, because it's not often that you have a facility like that these days that is able to be kept afloat and kind of at your disposal. So it's an awesome thing to be involved in.
That's awesome, man. I was looking at the pictures. I mean, I've only ever had a chance to be in the studio of that kind of magnitude once, and it was with Matt LaPlante in the Deerfield Beach. I think that's where it is. With
I'm not sure.
He recorded the Sixth Records, and
okay.
He did a lot of work with Nonpoint. Trying to remember the Beeler Brothers. There we go, the Beeler Brothers studio.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it was it was a big ass fucking crazy looking studio. Other than that, it was always working with a couple friends or trying to record at home in your bedroom. Like, hey man,
right.
Do the vocals in the closet. It sounds better.
Right. Yeah, I mean, essentially, for the last number of years, that's how I've been working. Luckily, I'm a little bit better off than a closet, but my home studio it's a converted bedroom. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, but I have I've hung panels and I've got a cloud hanging from the ceiling, and so I've got the room treated, and I've got the right gear and to do whatever. So it's worked out nicely, and it's nice to not have that kind of overhead that you get with a big studio, but. That's another perk of being an independent producer for Think Loud is that I don't have to take on any of that overhead for the time being. So which is another thing I'm very grateful for. that I don't have to deal with that just yet. But yeah, the age of the big studio it's pretty much over. I mean, Think Loud is thankfully one of those sort of anomalies these days, because it's hard. They still exist, but it's one of those things where it's like the only reason that a lot of them exist is because they've been the place to go for so long, and they still have rapport with the right people that have the right budgets to put people in there. Because otherwise, I mean, most of the time you see a studio update from whatever your favorite metal band is, and unless it's Metallica or Lamb of God or somebody huge, chances are they're in something that looks something like a living room, or at least, even if it's a commercial space, it's usually fairly small, and that's the name of the game now. You know what I mean? It's just trying to be as cost effective as possible, and with the technology that's available at this point, it's pretty easy to, crank out some really high quality stuff with less than you would have needed before.
For sure, man. I mean, most of the big studios I see are mostly focused on like hip hop and like dance, EDM stuff. Mm-hmm. And they don't even need a studio that damn big, because they're not using real ingredients.
That's weird, isn't it? Yeah.
Did I say ingredients? Jesus Christ. Instruments. I'm fat.
It's all good. Me too.
I had a couple notes here that aren't really questions, they're just notes. Like, so I couldn't, by the way, find a wiki page for either band.
Yeah, I don't know if we're responsible for making one of those.
I think the fans make something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. The Wikipedia stuff just seems to exist, so I guess when we matter enough, there will be one. I don't really know how it works.
Well, but I mean, you guys are doing big stuff. I mean, I've seen you around way more than I did in the beginning with the first album. I saw you. I saw the video and I was like, oh, this is cool. I love metal and I love Star Wars. This is cool. And then I started seeing more of you guys and seeing pictures of you guys at the Kiesel booth at NAMM, and I'm like, all right, well, they're playing Kiesels, then they're more than just doing something for fun, like out of sheer just fucking around. Like they're a band,
right?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I thought, I'll start one for you guys, and then people could just edit.
Oh, awesome! That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
We'll edit as we go. And then the other thing, I always thought that when I saw that first video, I think it was the Imperial March song, where it's in that room, where the Vader throne room.
The throne room that should...
Or the one where Han gets frozen or whatever, the red lights.
Yeah, the carbonite chamber. So that's the Imperial March video, yep.
And I saw that, and it just reminded me... The first thing I thought of when I saw it was that poster that came out where it's like a painting of the Star Wars characters like rocking out. I think Vader...
Yeah. That was supposed to be our album cover for the first album, but nobody really knew how safe or dangerous the concept was, so Rise was like, let's do something a little more generic just so no one gets sued. But yeah, that was the first bit of artwork that we had. That was actually the first sort of concept we had for the live costumes as well.
Nice. Well, I wanted to also bring up who makes your outfits for this. Like, obviously the ones that you use for the video are Star Wars, but like the ones you use live, who's making these? Are you guys doing it yourself? Do you have like a person that works with plastic and vinyl and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's Carson. Okay. It's our bass player. Yeah, so all of our stuff. He's one of those people, like, I love and hate him for it, and the hate is mainly jealousy. He's one of those guys that he decides that he wants to do something and he's just able to. Nice. Like, there doesn't seem like, I mean, I'm not seeing any behind the scenes, so I'm sure, I know he works hard, but from an outsider's perspective, it's like, was there ever a fucking learning curve on any of this? Like, it seems like you just figured it out. So the artist that made that poster that you mentioned, his name is James Hayball. He's from the UK. He is the one that designed the new helmets and the new costumes. Oh, that's so cool. And then we gave those to unfortunately I don't remember the guy's name, but it was a 3D modeler artist. And then he sent Carson, full 3D renderings of all of the helmets, and in a way that I guess was able to break down the individual pieces that you needed to cut out and how to shape them in order to build these helmets the right way. And so he did it all in his house, did it all in his basement, and I think his mom, who is awesome as well, has been a huge help. She does a lot of the fabrics and stuff, so the capes and the undersuits and things like that are usually her. Basically anything that involves a needle and thread is usually her. And then so all of the armor and the helmets are actually this really lightweight foam stuff that I guess is used for a lot of cosplay and things like that. Definitely an amazing alternative to, you see the costumes that we play in the music videos are like, they're all plastic, but they're technically like bottom of the barrel in terms of like remotely accurate stuff. When you get to the real level, like the guys that like the 501st Legion, the guy, like pretty much any stormtrooper that we have in our videos that isn't playing a guitar is somebody from the 501st, and like all of that stuff is made out of fiberglass. It's all built from scratch. They paint it themselves. They put it together. Like, it's a ridiculous level of commitment that these guys have. But that stuff is really heavy. Really heavy, and it gets hot. It's not breathable or whatever, which was not going to work. I mean, even like if we didn't care about any of that stuff, you put something made of fiberglass in a Pelican case and put it on a plane, I'm pretty sure it's not making it. So we needed something that would be able to hold up. So the foam is working out really well, and people don't seem to notice that it's not like plastic or
it looks great, man.
A harder material. So that's good, I guess.
Yeah, it looks great. I mean, it's so crazy when you have someone like Carson that has that ability that you said, just being able to do stuff like that. Is anybody making sure he's fucking? Is he married? Does he have?
Yes. Yeah. He's got a wife of I know well over a decade at this point. He's got 2 kids or whatever. So yeah, he's got a good life. He's not not just like slaving away in a dungeon.
That's not what I meant though. I meant like is his DNA being spread? We need more of that.
Yes, yeah, it's been cloned twice so far. So
great, yeah, that's the thing, man. I've been telling when I meet people now that are super smart or they're doing crazy things. I'm like, guy, go get laid, spread your seed. We need more intelligent people. There's way too many dummies in the world right now. Come on.
Right, I haven't seen you eat a single Tide Pod. You're one of the good ones.
Exactly. Oh my God. So how do you guys decide what songs you're gonna do? There's so many. I mean, there's a ton of movies now, especially with like the new episodes and the side stories and stuff. So how are you guys choosing what you're doing? Because you're not like your first album isn't A New Hope, right? It's not like that. It's different.
Right. So the first album has pretty much all of the super memorable stuff because we didn't think this was going to be a band. We didn't think it was going to go past one song. We certainly didn't think it was going to be an album or even a second album. So when we even got to a full album, we were like, we need to make this one count because it's probably going to die. But yeah, so Grant is largely the mastermind on that end. As far as the creative stuff is concerned, he has perfect pitch, so he'll align the orchestra to a grid, and then he'll the stereo stem of the orchestra. He'll just put that on the grid, and then he'll listen, a bar at a time, 2 bars at a time, and just pick out every individual note, and just program it on a MIDI keyboard, and then that's what we use that's the skeleton that we use to then learn and record the songs on real instruments. So since he's the one that does that whole process, and I mean, he's by and large and I mean this as a compliment, he is by and large the biggest Star Wars nerd in the entire group. Like every once in a while, you'll see those like quizzes on Facebook and stuff of like, how well do you really know Star Wars? And it's like super obscure trivia of like what color was the cup in the corner on that one planet for 2 seconds in this one movie that you forgot about? Like, and Grant's like, give me something hard, Right, so so he is usually the one that will like he'll find a song that he thinks is cool and then be like, what do you guys think of this? And we'll be like, yeah, that's sick, and then he'll do it. So it's usually him, but yeah, I mean, we've done, at this point now, we've done everything, not everything, but music from every movie up through The Force Awakens. So
cool. I was going to start asking you questions. Oh, well, okay. Before I start asking you more personal questions or nerdy questions, I also saw that you guys were invited to the Oscars.
So that was it wasn't the actual Oscars. Like we weren't, in the building. We weren't cool enough for that. But so that was our first show ever. And that's probably one of my favorite stories, just because, again, stressing the fact that we did not expect this to go past a music video. The fact that we got the music video done was insane to us, because we've had ideas to do things together in the past, and they always just fall by the wayside, and nobody cares.
And the video has really good quality too, man. It looks, it obviously doesn't look like their movie, but it's high grade, like independent film.
Right. There's a lot of production value. We were lucky enough to know a number of people in different areas of kind of the entertainment industry that we made it work. But and that was all done. All but one of our music videos has been done by a company called Aurora Films, and they're based in Lancaster, just like we are. So big shout out to them because they're crazy good. But yeah, so we put out that video, and like I said, a lot of hits in a short number of hours, and I mean, maybe a week after that, I got an email that was like, hey, I'm whatever such and such producer at E Entertainment, and we saw your video and we think it's great, and we think you guys would be perfect to perform on our red carpet coverage. And I hit the guys up and I was like, hey, so this could be total bullshit, but should we check this out? And they're like, yeah, let's see what's up. So I hit them back and was like, hey, that would be great. What's the deal? And long story short, the deal was we're going to fly you out for 3 days. We're going to put you up in a super sick hotel for those 3 days. You're going to have one rehearsal, and then you're going to perform live, on the E red carpet during the Oscars. So, what they didn't tell us, which was weird but hilarious, so I enjoyed it anyway, is that we were playing in front of a pool at the Roosevelt Hotel with a Star Wars themed fashion show going on behind us, and these two amazingly flamboyant men narrating and providing the commentary for the fashion show. And when I watched it back afterwards, I was like, this is the most absurd and hilarious thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm so happy. Yeah, but it was, like I said, 3 free days out in LA. Played on the, not the red carpet, but a red carpet. And we were across the street from the actual, Oscars building, and it was crazy. But when we got that email, like, they were like, hey, come play live on TV, and we're like, no, you don't understand. Like, we don't know what we're doing. We don't know how to play any of this stuff. Like, we just recorded it for fun. We don't have costumes. Like, we've never done this. So we had to make it work. We wore these black robes, like the Emperor's robe, that just covered our faces, and we did our best. we did our best, and we played on live TV for our first show ever. So I guess not many people can say they did that, but it was nerve-wracking to say the least.
Yeah, no, that's awesome though, man. I mean, that's a hell of a way to get started,
Right, yeah.
So I assume you're obviously into Star Wars and somewhat nerdy, because you're nerdy enough to
right.
get all this together. So what kind of a Star Wars fan are you? Are you like okay with whatever they do? Are you one of the people that are weren't too fond of some of the newer things? Like, where do you sit right now with the Star Wars universe?
Okay, so I'm like this weird, like, I'm more active and involved with it now than I was previously, and that's not really just because of the band. That's just like kind of a coincidental thing, but I'm 26, so I grew up on the prequels. I had obviously seen the original trilogy, and I thought it was great, and Darth Vader was like my favorite character of all time, pretty much, but I grew up on the prequels, and I was too young to know that bad acting was bad acting. It was just there's this movie, and they have these lightsabers that I like, and they're fighting with them a lot, and that's really cool. So the pre right, I didn't really like the pod race. It's funny. I did a podcast interview yesterday, and they were like, "Yo, what'd you think of Rogue One? Are you excited for Solo?" And I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, the lightsaber is the coolest part. So unless there's a lot of those, I get kind of bored. But yeah, so I was a pretty passive fan in terms of how critical I was of the movies for a long time. It wasn't until I was like 20 years old that I went back and watched, because I had such fond memories of the prequels. I was like, I don't know why everyone hates them. Like, yeah, I guess we didn't need them or whatever, but I think they're being dramatic. And then I went back and I watched them, and I'm like, oh, they're really not that great. No, that sucks.
They're pretty rough. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I grew up on that stuff. So I'm just I tend not to be overly critical of stuff. I thought Force Awakens was great. I thought Last Jedi was great. I enjoyed Rogue One enough. I'm not overly stoked for Solo for a number of reasons, but
me neither, man. Me neither. I can't.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is, man. I think most people are going to go see it. But, it's just well, I feel like I have to.
I'm going to watch it, but probably, if I can watch it for free in the theater, I will. If not, I'll just wait and watch it at home later.
Until it comes out. Yeah. I don't know, man. I just don't, I don't think we needed it.
No.
At all.
We know what happened. We don't need to know what happened. We already know. We know he runs the Kessel Run, whatever. We know what happens,
Yeah, and the other thing is that, I mentioned this in the last interview I did, too, is that, the whole thing about Han, when we meet him, is that he's this, piece of shit, thief, smuggler, murderer guy. He's not a good person.
He becomes a good person. That's the whole story.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But, this movie is, making him the hero. And he's not that at all. That's not what he was supposed to be. His whole thing was, his... checkered past doesn't matter now because he's redeemed himself as this hero in the original trilogy. So, I just think that they're, obviously, they're milking the money cow for all it's worth, which I don't blame them for. If I owned the franchise, I would too.
But there's so much more wealth like depth that they could go into, like Old Republic stuff. Like, you know,
oh my god, I would die. I would be so stoked if they gave us a Knights of the Old Republic movie, dude. Like that, especially because I'm all into the lightsabers and stuff. Like that's like prime Sith Lord territory. Like that would be so sick. Dude, even like if you want to give me a story about a character that we don't need any more story about, give me a Darth Vader movie. Like, not Anakin Skywalker, give me Darth Vader. I think that would be so sick. Like, just show us why, because in the original trilogy, one of the big questions I think a lot of people had, if they didn't just accept it as a given, is like, why is everyone afraid of this guy? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, he can obviously, like, you know, like, he'll like, force choke people, and he's obviously got this, like, powerful vibe to him, but, like, you know, until, like, Rogue One was the biggest example of, like, this guy fucks shit up. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I would love to see a full movie of stuff like that.
Yeah, that would be incredible. I would take a Knights of Ren movie. That would be cool too.
Yep. Yeah. But what the hell happened to them?
Yeah.
Like, they're just not there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you went in depth with the whole Han Solo thing, with explaining that that's not his character. I didn't even think about that. Like, to me, with the Solo movie, my issue is that, you know, no Force, no care. The movie has no... Star Wars, to me, it's about the Force. It's about the Jedi and the Sith. I don't really care about the smuggler guy. Exactly.
Everything that Han Solo, like, as important of a character as he was, everything that he did was literally a side mission.
Right.
Like, it was an added story peppered in to what we were actually watching. You know what I mean? Like, what we were actually waiting for. And so, yeah, to make him, like, the focus of something is just, I don't know. And, like, we already know what happens to him. We know everything that happens to him. Like, so it's hard to, like, get invested in a character whose fate you've already been shown. And the other thing, and this was a big complaint in advance of Rogue One, is that, you know, any new characters in this Solo movie, there's two options. Either they run away or just walk off into the sunset and we never see them again, or they die. Most likely they die, because they're new characters we've never seen before, but it's before the main trilogy, and they're not in the main trilogy. So, like, Emilia Clarke's character, I'm willing to bet she dies.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Like, so,
there's also
it's just something...
One of the issues I've gotten with, like, Rogue One especially, and now this one, it's like, where are all these cool-ass fucking stormtroopers in A New Hope? Like, there's some cool black and silver and, like, you know, like, and all these crazy-looking ships. I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, I get you got to do new things, but you're making it look way cooler. And then we lead into A New Hope, and it's like, oh, we're playing with toys again. Like,
right. Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, I think there's a certain amount that is just, it's expected that you're just going to leave it to, like, oh, well, we know it was harder to make stuff in the 70s, so, like, like, we're just going to accept that for what it is. But yeah, that's a good point, you know, introducing stuff as a very important part of this new movie that's supposed to happen before the original trilogy, but they're things that are either like more insane or more extravagant or just overall cooler than stuff that we may have seen in the original trilogy. For them to not be there is just sort of like, I don't know. I just think I think a lot of it's unnecessary. I don't dislike the idea of side stories.
No,
but I just think, you know, and people are like, "Oh, I want to see a Lando one." I was like, "Do you?
Do you really though? I mean, it'd be fun, but like maybe as a Netflix movie, like I don't need it to.
Right, exactly. Like, know your audience. Like, stop spending millions and millions of dollars on this. Like everyone's like, but it's Donald Glover. It's like, dude, he's sick, but like, I still don't know if I care if it's a Lando movie.
I'll watch a Lando TV show on Netflix.
Right.
I'll watch the fuck
exactly.
Out of that,
you know? Yeah, because you have lower expectations, and you're not going and paying $20 to see the movie.
Man. Dude, my friends are getting older. Everybody's got families now, and it's getting to. I didn't really think about this stuff because I still don't have kids and all that. So, but I was telling my friend, I'm like, hey, you go see Infinity War. He's like, dude, I have 4 kids. You know how much money that is?
Yeah,
a night at the movies is $200. Like, oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, my you know, I like my youngest, I say my youngest, I only have one, but she's not old enough to go to a movie theater yet. But yeah, once you're a parent, like I still haven't seen Infinity War. I mean, I know enough of what happens in the comic books to like understand that, like, you know. And they kind of give it all away in the trailer. Like, his goal is to destroy half the universe. He needs these stones to get them. He has this glove that has a bunch of them in it. Oh, and there's a scene of him pulling one out of a guy's head. Like, okay, so I guess he gets them. Yeah. You know, like, so it seems like he figures it out, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm still gonna see it because I hear it's fantastic, and I like the MCU stuff, you know. But yeah, your friend is 100% right. I mean, like, aside from the monetary side of it, it's just like I don't have fucking time, you know. Like,
get all these kids together, get them dressed, put them in the car, take them to the movie theater. Like, oh my god,
right? Yeah, and when the kids are young, that requires, you know, like schmoozing one of the in-laws to hold on to them for 2 hours.
Right.
You know, so, which is not always a problem, but it's just something where, like, you feel bad, like, being like, hey, here's another thing that I need to pawn my kid off on you for. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. All right, so some quick questions. Raylo, what do you think? Are they siblings or are they lovers?
I don't think either one. I don't think they're siblings. And I don't see them getting romantically involved. I think that was just... I think they flirted with it, and I think that had Kylo chosen a different path, that it might have gone that way. I mean, I think Rey is as close to a gray Jedi, which I guess those two are sort of contradictory, but I guess they just call them gray. But she's as close to a gray as we're going to see because, you know, she's more emotionally driven, but she still has her sense of right and wrong and whatever. But I think, you know, Kylo's chosen his path. I think at this point I don't think we're going to see him turn away from that, especially because, as far as we know, he's the only, you know, evil, Force-sensitive person, you know, that's active right now. So, you know, I mean, never say never. The Last Jedi was pretty much like, you know, their way of being like, hey, everything you thought was going to happen, it's the exact opposite, so maybe they'll do something. But, you know, I think that, I think there's always going to be that personal connection between them, but I don't think that they're ever going to get, like, romantically involved or anything.
Interesting. I got so mad when spoiler alert for The Last Jedi. I mean, it's been out for a while, screw you.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it in the last 8 months, yeah.
But when they killed Snoke off, man, like, I was just, come on. Like, really? The only other Force-sensitive Sith, you're going to kill him right off? Like, no, he did nothing.
See, I didn't mind that, and that's a big... So, I loved The Last Jedi, and a lot of people hated it, and I have... a pretty lengthy retort for most of the hateful comments, but so people complain about, oh, like, Snoke's supposed to be this big badass guy, and we saw him in the first movie, and then suddenly now he's just dead. We didn't really get to see him do anything. Until we got the prequels, you didn't get that for the Emperor either. The only thing that you got to see the Emperor do that Snoke didn't do is shoot lightning out of his hands. That's it. You didn't know anything about Palpatine. You didn't even know his name was Palpatine. Like, you didn't know his name. He was just the Emperor. He's just this guy. We didn't get a backstory on him. We barely got a backstory on him in the prequels, but all we found out was that he was a senator that worked his way up and eventually took over. But everyone is supposed to hate the prequels. So, because they're unnecessary and they were done poorly and we didn't need them. So, assuming that the prequels are just invalid, as they're claim to be, then the original trilogy is all we have to go on. So by that thing, you know, we had an extra movie, but we didn't see any of the Emperor in A New Hope. So you just saw, oh, Darth Vader has a boss in Empire Strikes Back, and then you met him a little bit, and then you saw him in Return of the Jedi for like 3 scenes, and then he's dead. So it's pretty much the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Well, so I didn't mind that that's what happened because, like, I've seen it before.
For me, the issue was, like, with the first original trilogy, even though the prequels were like a newer thing, they still announced, you know, when you watch A New Hope, it says Chapter 4. So you kind of know that there's something else to go back to, even if they hadn't announced the movies yet or whatever. For me, anyway, growing up, and then but with these movies, like, we can't go back. Like, they can do side stories, I guess, but like we already have episode 4, 5, and 6. We can't.
That's true. That's true. But I know that, I mean, like, when A New Hope first came out, it wasn't called A New Hope. It wasn't called Episode 4. It's just called Star Wars. So the whole episode number thing, I think, started with Empire Strikes Back. I think Empire Strikes Back came up, and everyone was like, "Why does it say 5?" And I think that George Lucas just kind of came up with that idea afterwards. So basically, like, whenever they released the trilogy as its first box set is when they made A New Hope Episode 4. So, but yeah, I mean, I understand that there's not much to, like, go back on with Snoke. I mean, technically they could, because there is something like, I mean, how many years has it been since Return of the Jedi came out? So there's something near that many years in between the timelines for the two, for episode 6 and episode 7. So there is technically room to work with in there, and maybe they'll do it. But I don't know.
They announced what's his name? Oh God, I forget his name. The director of Iron Man, and he was also in. Chef.
Yeah,
what's his name?
I don't know his name. I don't remember his name either, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's directing a TV show, live action, based on that time period between 6 and 7.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, I knew he was directing a TV show, but I didn't.
Favre? Brett Favre? No, that's a football player.
Brett Favre.
John Favreau. God damn it. John Favreau.
Whatever. So I'm stoked to see what he can do with that, and I knew he was directing a TV show, but I didn't know about the details of it. But yeah, that'll be cool. I mean, maybe we'll see something, maybe we'll see something about Snoke from that. But yeah, I don't know. The whole Snoke thing didn't really bother me, because, I mean, Kylo was always meant to be the main focus. And I also think the director, it's Rian Johnson, that's his name, right? The guy who directed Last Jedi?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's his name. So, I respect the shit out of Rian Johnson for taking, because everyone complained about A New Hope, or not A New Hope, The Force Awakens. Oh, it's another New Hope. It's the same thing. But it's like, I mean, it kind of had to be, like, they have to establish everything again. But, like, all right, fine, I get it. And then everyone was like, oh, well, I hope this isn't another Empire. And he was just like, I'll fucking show you guys. So he just stuck up both his middle fingers and did what he wanted to do. And I thought it was great. So I think, and I think what that does is, like, especially with killing off Snoke and Luke being dead and Han being dead, and I mean, I guess Leia's gonna be dead now, but, like, I'll get to that in a sec. But everyone from the original trilogies, aside from Chewbacca, is gone. Mm-hmm. So I think that was his way of just being like, deal with it. They don't exist anymore. Like, this is what's happening now, and I think that's cool. So, yeah, as far as Leia's concerned, that was a weird thing for me. Because, like, they said after she died, and they were like, what are you going to do? And they were like, it's okay, we found a good way to send her off. But she wasn't sent off. She wasn't sent off. Like, it was just at the end of the movie, she's like, what are you looking at me for? Pose in charge. It's like, okay. But, like, that doesn't explain how you're dead. So, I'm interested to see how that starts.
Yeah, apparently she filmed some scenes for 9, I think. From what I read online, before she passed, I think they got some footage of her, and then I'm sure they'll CG some shit like they did with Rogue One, which was terrible, by the way. They did not look real.
Yeah, and so I really hope they don't do that. I really hope they don't. I think she deserves more respect than that. But the Rogue One thing, it's funny, I didn't notice right away with Tarkin. Like, I noticed pretty quickly, but not right away. It was mainly when he was standing next to somebody else that I was like, oh, he's fake. But the Leia one, man, I was like, they didn't need it. You didn't need that part.
No, you could have just done, like, a side view, like a silhouette, or... it didn't need the face, the full frontal, CG human face. Like, come on.
Right. Yeah, it was a bit much. And I swear to God, if one more person says hope, I'm going to burn the theater to the ground.
Oh, man. All right, so enough about Star Wars. So you mentioned that you kind of know the comic books. What else are you nerdy about? Like, what else are you into?
That's pretty much it, man. It's weird. I'm a comic book fan technically, but I didn't read that many comic books. Like, I just liked the characters that came out of them. Like, pretty much up until I was about, I want to say, like 6 years old, my parents could not prevent me from going outside of the house without a Batman cape on. Or where they couldn't prevent me from going out with one on. But yeah, like I would like ride my bike with it on, and they tried. My mom always tells this story. She tried to trick me into not wearing the cape because I would ride my bike around, and she was like, your cape's sticking off the back, and you wouldn't want that to get caught in the wheels, because like you could get yourself really hurt with that. And she thought, all right, I got him. Like, he's gonna take off the cape and just go ride his bike. And then she was like, and then the next time I saw you riding past the house, you were just sitting on your cape. So I wouldn't take the goddamn thing off. So
now you get to wear a cape on stage.
Exactly. That was the reason that I liked Darth Vader too. My parents were like, "Why do you like him? He's the bad guy." I'm like, "He has a cape." Yeah, I mean, Batman was a big thing for me, especially movies. And just superhero stuff in general. I like those like nerdy action movies. I liked the first Transformer movie when it came out, and then it quickly got old, and I started hating it. But I like that kind of science fiction stuff. And other than that, it's really just music. I'm not involved in really anything. I watch TV and movies, and I play guitar and I record stuff. That's about as much as I get. As far as like nerdy stuff goes, like I'm like real nerdy about different guitar gear and studio stuff and whatever. But that's I feel like that's a much more specific niche as well. So
yeah, do you go to NAMM since you're like such a big gearhead?
I do, yeah. I didn't go this past. I've never gone to summer NAMM. I didn't go to this past winter NAMM. So I think because the 2 years before that was my first one, and at that time I was like kid in a candy store. I was like, oh, I've always heard about this. This is the coolest thing ever. And we were out there for all 5 days, and it was like, but it was also everyone we were hoping was going to be there wasn't there that year. And then the next year is like, all right, well, everyone's definitely going to be there this year. And it was like half of the people. And then after like 2 days, Mike and I always go together. And after the first 2 days, we were like, okay, what do you want to do now? This is pretty much the same thing. And then like nobody we knew, as far as like our immediate friends, nobody went to NAMM this year. And then like every person, every player that we admire or whatever, look up to, ended up going that year. So I was like, fuck. But yeah, NAMM is definitely something that we go to, and hopefully we'll be able to go, since now we're representing more companies and things like that. I think we'll end up having to go to the next one.
Sure, man. Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with NAMM. Like, I love it when the time comes. I love that I have friends in town, like people that I don't see all year are here, and we get to hang out and drink, and it's always a blast. But there are so many cons to the pro list, like
yeah.
I end up becoming like a kind of a chauffeur for most of my friends that fly in. I gotta go pick them up from the airport, take them to the hotel. Then I gotta like schedule myself around. Like, all right, I need to hang out with you guys, but there's also another group of friends from out of town that you guys don't know. I need to go see them as well, and like and then walking around the floor, people trying to get me to buy guitars and shit, and it's like I'm not even in an active band right now. Just fuck off.
Right. Right. Yeah, but, I mean it's definitely it's a weird like you had the love-hate thing. I think everyone's got that.
Yeah, when you walk, you make the wrong turn, and you end up in the drum department, and you want to shoot your brains out because it's like 1,700 guitar centers at once.
Oh, dude, the drum's not even the worst part for me. It's whenever I fucking turn the corner and it's like the brass or woodwind section. Like, yeah, or like the sheet music section where like everyone there just looks like they want to kill themselves. Like it, just like this is the most boring area of the convention, and everyone here knows it. Yeah. Yeah, and I think the biggest con for everybody is what we call namthrax, which is the sickness that you inevitably get as soon as you get home. When you get off the plane, you're like, well, I'm fucking sick again.
Oh, yeah, I got the flu, man, this year. It was rough.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. If you were to do what you're doing now with Star Wars, with Galactic Empire, with another franchise, what would you want to do?
Jesus, I don't know. Thing is, we stick to the John Williams stuff. I know at one point a while ago you asked about like the side stories and whatever. You know, we didn't do the music from Rogue One and whatever because it's not John Williams. So if we did anything differently, and we've made jokes about this before, you know, oh, what are you going to do when there's no more Star Wars music? It's like, oh, we'll just put a fedora on Darth Vader and play Indiana Jones, you know. You know, he's done so many scores for so many movies that if we were going to expand on anything, we would probably just do more John Williams scores from other movies. So, Harry Potter, Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones,
dude,
that kind of stuff.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, we've thought about it. I mean, we would probably... and again, this is the joke that we keep making, is that we would just keep the Star Wars outfits on, but just add on to them. You know, so now Darth Vader is in a cloak with glasses on, and we just exactly.
Man.
So yeah, I mean, there's a number of ways we can go with it, but you know, for now we're going to keep riding the Star Wars train.
Nice, yeah, and I mean, it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. They keep making movies. I heard there's like more trilogies now after 9. There's like a whole other trilogy they're doing, so it's never ending. Ryan Johnson,
I guess, is now getting his own trilogy. So like he's not doing episode 9, he's doing the separate trilogy that's like totally different characters and whatever, which I'm actually looking forward to that because hopefully there's a lot more people with lightsabers. So
yeah, I mean, I'd like to get more, like I mentioned it earlier, the Old Republic stuff. Like, give me some of the stuff that's like crazy, you know, the Force users and the lightsabers.
Take everything that they did wrong in the prequels and do it right. That's what I want.
Right. Cool, man. And you guys are playing a big show in June with Municipal Waste. Those are some good homies of mine, so that's exciting.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, we have a number of like weird surprise shows. We're playing. We have a headliner on this Friday, and then next Wednesday we're playing at the same venue we're opening for Coheed, which is weird. Cool, it was weird because our manager is their tour manager, so like he was like, I'm booking them a warm-up show at the Chameleon, like you guys should open, and we're like, all right, cool, yeah. Like I think the show sold out in like a minute, I think so. Yeah. So that'll be fun. And then we got the show with Municipal Waste in June, and then we're in Europe for the rest of June. We're in Europe starting June 14th, I think. We're there for the last 2 weeks of June.
Very cool. The Coheed thing makes sense, man. I mean, you know, they're a nerdy band as well. They got comics. You know, Claudio writes his own comics and stuff. So it's not like the crowd's going to be thrown off. Like, I've been to Coheed shows where the crowd is thrown off. Like, I went to see Between the Buried and Me with Coheed, and
me too.
I was standing next to a girl who was just holding her face like the whole time during Between the Buried and Me. And I'm like, you poor child, you have no idea.
Yeah, you have no idea how much respect these people deserve from you.
Yeah, man. It's like I love the guys in BT Bam. They're all, you know, good peeps. I know Blake and Dusty. We've hung out a few times, and great guys, insanely talented, but does not belong with Coheed. It's a different sound.
Yeah. I think every once in a while, BT Bam seems to do one tour where it's like, that's an odd matchup, but I think they're just trying to shake it up. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, yeah, we can keep playing with prog metal bands, or we can go fucking, you know, they brought out Deer Hunter on their last tour. Like, you know, I think they're at a place now where they can just do whatever the fuck they want. That's, you know, them, like, people like them and Periphery and like just those guys that they've managed to cultivate an identity that will... It's going to remain regardless of who they tour with. Like, Periphery could go on tour with Nickelback and they're not going to lose anybody. You know what I mean? Right. So, yeah, I respect people who just make those decisions of, like, I don't fucking care if we're out of place. Like, the rules, let's go with them.
Yeah, man. And then the show with Municipal Waste is at a brewery. Are you a beer guy at all?
Not really. I like girly drinks. Basically, anything that doesn't require effort to enjoy the taste. Like when I first started drinking, I was a goody. I didn't start drinking until I was 21, and so my friends are trying to have me try whiskey and bourbon and shit, and I was like, this is terrible. And they're like, nah, dude, like you just gotta try it for a minute, like you'll eventually find a reason to appreciate it. And I'm like, all right, well, this fucking daiquiri was delicious immediately, so I'm gonna stick with that. I don't want to have to. Yeah, I don't want to have to be told I need to work to make something taste good. Like that means it tastes bad. So I don't, I saw your last interview was with James from Tesseract, and he's a friend of mine. And every time they come into town, we'll hang out. And the very first time that we hung out, he was like, "Here, let me get you a beer," and he handed me some like IPA that somebody gave him because they were having fans bring him beer, and I was just like, dude, this is wasted on me. I was like, give me like the shittiest, most watered down American beer that you got, and that'll be what I can drink. Like, so the whole thing is just like, every time he sees me, he's like, let me buy you a drink. Oh, wait, that's right, you like shit beer. Okay, noted, I'll go get one of those. So beer is definitely not my thing. I think IPAs are a fraud. Microbrews and hops and whatever. I'm just like, this is just bad. I don't like it. So, so I'm a fat man with a beard, and my entire family is Irish, and I don't like beer for some reason. So I'm not sure what happened, but.
Well, all right, this interview's over. No.
I know that doesn't really fit in with your demographic based on the show title. But.
Yeah, no, it's weird, man. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I've been in the interviews, and the guests have kind of been expanding. Like, I had David Cord on, who did all the sound design for Force Awakens, and oh,
that's sick.
Yeah, and like I have people that don't even drink. Like, I had Kurt Ballou from Converge. He doesn't really drink, so like. It throws people off when they hear the rock and roll beer guy thing. They think it's all beer, and I'm like, no, man, it's just I'm that guy. I'm the one that likes rock and roll and beer, and then I'm going to talk to you guys. If you like it too, then we'll talk about that.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, it's fine. You don't have to like beer to be here.
Good to know.
But we are at an hour mark, so I'm gonna wrap it up. So you guys, like you said, you have the European tour coming up. You have your second album, which is called Episode 2. Mm-hmm. Is that already out, or is it coming?
Yes.
Out? Okay.
That came out on May 4th.
May 4th.
Fittingly.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, so. You guys, really.
Yeah. Yep.
Perfect.
My idea. Thank you very much.
Perfect. And like you said, you're on Rise Records. So if anybody that's listening, check it out. You can YouTube Galactic Empire. You'll immediately get results. You guys have been, like you said, you blew up. Those videos have got an insane amount of views. You guys got interviewed on Sci-Fi.
Yeah, we had a whole feature done on us. It was their online, the Sci-Fi Wire or whatever, but I think someone told me, like, I just saw you guys on the Sci-Fi channel, so I think they like advertised it on Sci-Fi or something. But yeah, it was definitely a change of pace from the usually we're doing things like podcasts, and we'll do like written interviews for things like Metal Hammer and whatever. But when our publicist was like, Sci-Fi is coming to the show in New York, we're like, what the fuck did you just say? But yeah, it was awesome. They did a whole feature on us. And luckily they had a portion that was in the costume, as well as the main portion of the interview was out of costume, which is much easier to do because the in-costume ones were always trying to be in character, and that's terrible to have to do on the spot.
With the mouth muffled, like, oh, yeah.
Well, it's because we're trying to, like, at that point, like, they want you to answer the way that Darth Vader would answer. And it's like, I'm not Darth Vader. I don't fucking know. Like, I have to think of this later. So,
right.
So yeah, the audio like, if anyone wants to go and check that out, the audio that is being played, that you hear of the voices when we're in the costumes, that's not the audio that came out of the camera. Like, we had to completely redo everything.
Gotcha. Wow. Cool. Yeah. So YouTube that and look up the Sci-Fi interview. The newest video, March of the Resistance, was awesome. I was watching it right before we started. Yeah. Thank you for coming on, dude, and thanks to Amy for setting everything up. With with the interview and everything. So.
Yeah, she rules, and it's been great talking to you. I appreciate you having me on, and hopefully we'll get to talk soon, or hang out somewhere. If I'm at NAMM or whatever, I'll be sure to hit you up.
For sure, man. Yeah, I live out here in LA. If I'm ever in your side of the world, I'll hit you up as well, brother.
All right, word, man.
All right, cheers, guys.
See ya.
What's up, dude? We're kind of in the middle of something right now.
I'm being torn apart. I want to be free of this pain. And I know I have to play it, but I don't know if I have the chops to play it. Will you help me?
Dude, what?